All right, this is Ben Jones, and he's here with his brother Chris. And Chris has been a huge encouragement and support in his life, and we want you to take a minute to see Ben's story.
Hi, my name is Ben Jones, and I've been going to Mission Church for a few months now. Before I knew God, I just looked to find my value in either, friendships, relationships, or even just my job. I don't know, the longer you look for your self-worth in those things, the more you learn, a job's never gonna fully satisfy just your needs. Your friends are always there for you, but for me, I always found there was something that just felt like I was missing or needing in my life. So I was raised Catholic, and I would always go to Mass with my family, and I got to feeling that I just had to kind of earn God's love through, following all these traditions. It felt like God was just this God who gave me all these rules to follow, and then I never really had this personal relationship with them, and it's never something that I had learned to develop. I remember one night in middle school just laying up thinking do I really believe in a God that just gives me these rules and then kind of backs off because I didn't get to know him in that personal way. I ended up just kind of building up this anger towards God for feeling like he wasn't there, and it was maybe a year after that I actually had this guy I was in a band with killed himself, and then a couple months later a neighbor killed himself. I had all this grief and nowhere to go with it, and so I even built up even more kind of walls and barriers towards God and more just anger in my heart, and moved out to Goodyear actually a couple years later, and I started getting this thought, or you should message your parents' pastor, you should add your parents' pastor on Facebook. And after a couple months I ended up adding him, and then a couple months after that I messaged him and said, hey, I just want to meet up and talk. I don't believe right now, but I just feel like I need to let you know and talk to you. And that was probably one of the best decisions I ever made. I remember even meeting with Kyle, I was still struggling to wrap my head around the fact that there's this God that made everything, that loves each of us just so much that he sent his son to die for us. That was such a concept I had trouble grasping. I remember one night my little brother called me, and he knew I'd been struggling, and he told me, listen man, I'm having a hard time, and I was so ready to give him advice and help him, and I asked him what's going on, and he said, well, I don't want you to go to hell, man. I want you to be in heaven if something happens ever. That really struck a chord with me, and I told him, listen, I'm trying to believe, but one thing I'm really struggling with is just believing there's a God, and praying is the thing I'm at now that I really just am struggling with. And he got quiet for a minute, and then he goes, well, just do it. just pray. What's the worst that can happen? And I don't think he could have said better words, because that night I prayed and I could just feel God with me, and started praying more often, started praying, driving to work, driving to Starbucks, I would pray and just talk to God and open up about my struggles and really feel him working in my life and seeing things he's doing that, couldn't be coincidence. I started small groups, and it must have been after the first or second one where I really just knew I believed and was just so ready for God to be a part of my life. Even throughout this time where I was not believing and coming to believe, I got to get to know Tyler better, and he was really just there for me in just this spiritual mentor way. And I could even look to my parents and just look at, the marriage they had and how they always want to honor God. And I've been looking to my brother Ronnie too, and I think he's just such a good example of God's unconditional love. And it's just cool to look around and see all these people that are investing their time in me to hold me accountable in my faith and make sure that, like, on the day that I pass, they pass, whatever, like, I'll go to heaven, which is just a really profound thought. So with all these changes that have been going on just in my life and in my heart, I can't think of any other better way just to show the world and let them know that I'm like a believer and a follower of God now than to get baptized and just kick off my new life in this way and know that my sins from the past are forgiven and I don't have to live the way I did before. And I mean, I know things aren't always going to be super easy or as exciting as they are now, but it's cool to know that, like, now when I struggle, I can pray about it. Now when I struggle, I can look to the Bible to know, like, how would God want us to deal with this situation. I think this is just going to be the beginning of this new chapter of my life where I am able to follow God and have this relationship with Him.
So for several months, Ben and I have had the opportunity to meet together and just share a little bit about our story, and to see what God's been doing in his life has been so amazing and so powerful. And one thing I love is that Ben was never going to take someone else's story or someone else's word. He had to have his own journey. And I'm so proud of him for that, because he investigated this stuff and he dug in and read and learned and asked questions. And I mean, he really wanted to know what he believed was true. And so it's been an awesome journey with you. And Ben, it's such an honor. I'm trying not to get emotional myself up here, but it's just such an honor to call you a brother in Christ. And it's my privilege, Ben, to be able to baptize you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.